Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture, and today I'm going to tell you all about the huge backstage heat in WWE on Goldberg. I'm going to tell you WWE's plans for the Undertaker's character going forward, and I'm going to tell you all about the Raw rating as well.
Plus, the real reason Rhea Ripley dropped her NXT Championship at WrestleMania, the steps WWE are taking to deal with the current global situation, and a huge announcement set for WWE's The Bump tonight. This is the news.
But we're going to kick things off by talking about Big Bad Bill Goldberg, the man who lost the WWE Universal Championship to Braun Strowman at WrestleMania 36. We've got a report here from WrestleZone, and it sheds light on a number of recent things that have been going on with Big Bad Bill. So, of course, he won the Universal title from The Fiend Bray Wyatt in Saudi Arabia. Not the most popular move, I think it's pretty fair to say, but this kind of explains why it happened. So, apparently, the original plan was for Wyatt to go over. He was going to win, he was going to overcome Goldberg, take his scalp, and presumably move on to WrestleMania. That obviously didn't happen. It was a last-minute change brought on by Goldberg himself, who apparently, according to all of this, campaigned to win. He talked WWE into giving him creative control because he felt that losing would be damaging to his character. And he has, of course, spoken in the past saying that he sees his character as a superhero. So he went to WWE and said, hey, nah, I'm the superhero. I should be vanquishing the monster. The kids, the younger audience would love to see that. And so it was changed. Now, it's also noted here that Wyatt was relative, he agreed to do it, basically. Now, if you believe that he sandbagged Goldberg on that jackhammer, a popular theory doing the rounds, maybe he wasn't so happy after all. But the write-up here also notes from WrestleZone, this is all according to WrestleZone, as I've said, also notes that WrestleMania was apparently the last deal on Goldberg's current WWE contract, so maybe the promotion won't be too keen on using him again anytime soon after he dropped the belt to Braun at WrestleMania. But I think for anyone who wanted an explanation of why the hell he won the belt in the first place, this might go some way towards satisfying them at the very least.
Indeed, a few thoughts coming off the back of this. Number one, creative control. Haven't heard that word in a long time. And also, this sort of makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Because it didn't really make any storyline sense why he could just destroy all these other people and then just, a couple of spears and a jackhammer for Goldberg, and that does it for The Fiend. And I just like the idea of them going backstage after Saudi Arabia. The writers are gone, right, okay, so now you're Universal Champion, Goldberg. What should we do next? And he's like, I don't know, probably drop the title or something at WrestleMania. Because the whole theories around, taking the title off The Fiend so that then Roman Reigns didn't get a bad reaction at WrestleMania, it just didn't seem to make sense as to why they did it. So it sort of explains it that at the last minute they just sort of had to put the title on Goldberg. I sense, we might not see him back in WWE for quite some time if that is the case. But credit to Bray Wyatt, as you said, regardless of what happened with that jackhammer, for being so open when his character was just had a rocket strike to it and they sort of ruined it a little bit. Thankfully, he salvaged it at WrestleMania. But it all sort of makes sense now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. The pieces kind of come together. I wonder if Goldberg pulled the Bob Holly with this and went in, how about you give me the belt? And then what, Bill? And then I beat everybody. Shout outs to that episode of Bruce Pritchard. Tremendous.
Speaking of title changes, in case you're wondering why Rhea Ripley lost to Charlotte Flair, and there's a question actually coming about this a little bit later on, Andy, a lot of people assume, Charlotte Flair has been handed the sort of golden shovel. We'll deal with that in a bit. But anyway, perhaps the real reason that Rhea Ripley dropped her NXT Women's Championship to Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania is the fact she's been forced to go home to her native Australia after the expiration of her United States working visa. No more of the accent for now, anyway. This comes from PW Insider's Mike Johnson, who says that she had to head back to her homeland on Monday to deal with her issues with her visa. She'll have to renew it. All sort of issues with what's going on in the world, quarantine, etc. Don't know when on earth it's all going to be dealt with. It's obviously not as easy as it normally would be, and even then it's slightly tricky. And it means that she would have probably has to miss quite a few weeks of TV, especially with the sort of intensive filming that they're doing at the moment. So that might, Andy Murray, explain why she dropped the title over the weekend.
It seems like a plausible explanation, doesn't it? Obviously, they probably don't want one of their top title holders having a belt cutting promos from her living room for 3 months, doing the WhatCulture news video gimmick at the moment. Not ideal for NXT, certainly. Sucks, really sucks, because she's one of the most promising wrestlers in the entire company, I think. And, despite the loss, I was looking forward to seeing what Rhea Ripley did next. We'll now have to wait for that. But, 3 months or whatever away from television, sometimes it can do wonders for a performer. I think Rhea's character definitely took a hit when she became NXT champion. She was kind of she was uniquely badass before that and dangerous, and she had like a unique appeal. She won the belt, and she just kind of, she was still good, don't get me wrong, but she kind of became the generic WWE babyface champion. I'm defending the brand kind of stuff, which wasn't as compelling to a lot of people, myself included. So maybe she comes back, and maybe the nightmare is reborn, and we get an awesome second program with her and Big Chaz.
Exactly. From all of us here at WhatCulture, Rhea, best of luck with your bloody visa, you flaming liar.
Let's talk about The Undertaker. He has an entirely different accent, boy. He doesn't speak like that either. What am I doing? New report here, WrestleVotes, talking about The Undertaker and his character. I'll just read the tweet here. All indications from 3 different sources I've spoken to believe that whenever we see The Undertaker next, it will indeed be this new American badass style Taker from the Boneyard match this past Saturday. This is in line with reports prior to WrestleMania stating that The Undertaker was going to do something new, a new direction for his character, and also lives up to the theory from the Boneyard match. The reason The Undertaker kind of rode away from his symbol at the end of that match with a gong and all that stuff, and the Metallica song, was because he was literally riding away from that character. The dead man has died so that Biker Taker 2.0 can live. I think it makes sense. I think it's a character that he can use to add several years minimum onto his career. And I really want to see more Boneyard matches because that thing was awesome.
Absolutely. I think this is the best decision for him. I think Spooky Dead Man no longer has any real threat or appeal to the audience. And I genuinely thought one of the best moments in that Boneyard match is when he's choke-slammed AJ Styles off that roof. AJ Styles is sort of dying, effectively writhing around on the floor, and he just said, "Stay with me, boy, we're not finished yet." I just thought that was so legitimately terrifying, as has been suggested, something out of a movie. I think this is the best character direction, and like you said, Andy, this can make his character run for many years, especially with sort of pre-recorded skits not skits, but stuff similar to the Boneyard match, where you can just sort of work around anyone's mistakes, weaknesses, etc.
100%, man. It was great stuff. Hope to see more from the WWE Cinematic Universe very soon.
Absolutely love it. I can't believe we were so worried, and we needn't have been, because this weekend was spectacular. If you were concerned about WWE is currently how they are currently handling the ongoing global situation at local medical facilities, WWE have talked about more safety measures, and this is a new report according to PW Insider about how they're dealing with it all. They change the ropes, the ring ropes, turnbuckles, aprons and canvas after every single match, and also conduct a full and complete sanitisation of the Performance Centre as things progress. No real story here, just reassurance, I suppose, Andy, that WWE are doing all that they can aside from stopping filming.
Keeping safe, keeping everything together as best they can. If they're going to keep filming, this is the way to progress. There's an argument to be made that they shouldn't keep filming. That's a different story for an entirely different day. Let's talk about this week's Raw. Let's talk about how that did in the ratings. Up from last week. That's good news because last week was very bad. We're at 2.1 million average viewership across the 3 hours for Raw. That is up from 1.92 the previous week. It should be noted as well that the drop-off from hour 1 to hour 3, it was still there, but it was a bit less than usual. And this was helped, according to Dave Meltzer, by a big quarter-hour gain for the match between Drew McIntyre and The Big Show. People tuned in for Drew. The hour 3, it wasn't enough to salvage the hour 3 total completely, but, they were only on screen for like 15, 20 minutes or so it's only a portion of it. That's good. That bodes well for Drew going forward. I'm encouraged by that. It should be noted, however, that this number is something like 800,000 viewers down on last year's Raw After Mania, but maybe that was inevitable. We're in an empty arena. The shows aren't as much fun. Shows aren't as popping as they were. It wasn't the most exciting Raw After Mania, but that was always going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. The promising thing to take out of this, like you said, is the fact that Drew is clearly a draw as WWE champion. But I think for the most part, you can kind of disregard the ratings. Yes, they are crap. They are worse than many recent years of the Raw after WrestleMania. But these are completely unique situations, and hopefully when this thing's all gets back to normal, the numbers get back to where they are. But I think right now, judging anyone, you've seen the drop off not just on Raw and SmackDown, but also on NXT and on AEW Dynamite. So it's affecting the industry. It's not fair to compare it to this time last year, this time 5 years ago. It's a different world we live in. People obviously compare it to when they were doing the Monday Night Wars, but it's a completely different culture as well nowadays. So they're going to be different. You're not going to get 9.5s or anything like that. I think you can just sort of disregard this for the most part. Yes, it's disappointing. Yes, WWE probably should stop recording because there's clearly not that much of a demand for content. But it is what it is. At least it's gone up. And like I say, at least Drew is a draw. But speaking of NXT, some big news coming later today on The Bump. Yes, more Bump news. On Twitter, they have promoted an appearance from William Regal, who's set to make a huge NXT announcement on today's episode of The Bump. Most people presume this centres around the fact there wasn't an NXT TakeOver Tampa. Of course, there's 2 NXT TakeOver matches going on NXT tonight, and if you're looking forward to that, make sure you join myself and the Dudley Boys for the Wednesday Night War preview a little bit later on today. But sod all that, the big news is that on The Bump with Kayla Braxton is Bubba Ray Dudley and the greatest host in WrestleMania history, Titus Worldwide! I'm predicting he's announcing the reunification of Titus Worldwide. Apollo's on Raw, Titus is on Raw.
Tozawa is somewhere. Why not? Dana Brooks on Smack. That's a problem. No stats mathematician.
She left. She know what she did.
Traitorous person, Dana Brooke.
But yes, an exciting announcement on regarding NXT tonight, Andy.
Yeah, maybe one of these takeover matches, like you said. Have they announced Dream versus Cole yet? Does that have a date? Not yet.
He beat Bobby Fish, didn't he? So
yeah.
He's running through them, running the gauntlet onwards sense.
God, that might be the one.
God, I can't wait for Dream versus Kyle O'Reilly. God, I love Kyle O'Reilly in the Velveteen Dream. Anyway, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Kitty Mizzle, who says, is it just me who thinks Cena has passed his golden shovel to Charlotte? Thoughts, Andy Murray?
Oh, I mean, are we sure that the Rhea Ripley thing was a burial, first and foremost? Like, I'm not going to argue that Charlotte has won matches that maybe she shouldn't have. But and I would have rather Ripley won that match, but it was very competitive. You don't necessarily need to beat the A-tier star on your very first attempt, and they see her as the A-tier star, WWE clearly do. And I also think that when you lose to someone like Charlotte, that doesn't immediately put you down to the D tier either. I'm not necessarily sure that win was the burial it's being made out to be. Do I think Rhea should have won? Yes, but I can see the case for Charlotte, particularly when it comes to boosting ratings and so forth, even though we don't have much evidence that has worked so far. I think it's maybe, I don't really want to slap her with that at the moment because it's maybe a little bit too early for me to kind of hinge on that. Maybe a year or so down the line and she scored a couple more of these silly wins or wins that maybe she didn't deserve, we can talk about that. But she's a great performer as well. So
yeah, exactly. As we've mentioned on numerous occasions, she does often get the best match out of someone that she's facing. And this Rhea Ripley match now suddenly makes a lot more sense. I was disappointed as much as anyone over the weekend that Rhea Ripley lost and tapped out to her. But if she's going to be disappearing from TV because of the way they're filming it for 3 months, it makes sense to put the title on Charlotte. Plus, like we mentioned before, they probably want to draw more viewers to NXT, and having someone with a name and reputation like Charlotte Flair is good. I don't think Charlotte should have beaten Asuka at WrestleMania. That's the one that annoys me. But for the most part, I can understand why they do it. Second question today comes from Dave Chappell, who says, with Braun Strowman now Universal Champion and the fact that Sami Zayn pinned Braun for the IC title, do you think this makes Sami #1 contender for the Universal title at Money in the Bank?
Wow, I'd like to see that because I think Sami running away from Braun would be very entertaining, particularly if you get the Stooges involved and have all kinds of capers flying all over the place. But I think that a likelier scenario is a continuation of the feud we've seen on SmackDown, with Gulak and Bryan and Cesaro and Nakamura and Zayn and whoever else you want to throw in there. Maybe we'll get a third member of that faction on the babyface side and we'll have a trios match, maybe with the stipulation that if you pin Sami, you win the belt. I think he's going to stay kind of on the mid-card for now. I don't see him challenging Braun anytime soon.
No, myself and the Dudley Boys were discussing sort of future plans for WWE on a podcast yesterday, which you can go and check out, I think, on this channel, and also by searching for What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. I sense probably Sheamus maybe will be Braun's first challenger for his title, although, and it's a year late, but I'm standing by it, I am starting the campaign right now. Fine if you want to have Sami Zayn drop the IC title at Money in the Bank, but give him the briefcase.
Oh,
can you imagine Sami Zayn with the Money in the Bank briefcase?
Hell yeah, he'd be the most glorious piece of trash you've ever seen.
They should have done it last year. Braun sort of scuppered all those plans, and I think Sami Zayn got murdered backstage on that show.
Yeah.
But for God's sake, give him the briefcase. He's one of the few people who, you like, on the men's side of things, you know, there's going to be Money in the Banks or Shayna Baszler, basically, I think, winning the women's side of things. But Sami winning the brief... Oh, I'm so excited if they do that. Please. Final question today comes from Space Monkey 8, who says... I love this question. I thought I'd save this one for you, Andy. Hey, lads, whose ride is sweeter? Dutch Mantel's scooter or Doc Antle's elephant?
It's Doc Antle's elephant. The way he just casually rides in on that first episode, you see him like, oh, hey guys, didn't know you were there. It's just, that guy is a psychopath cult leader weirdo who needs further investigation, but he's also a great wrestling character if he ever chose to walk into that domain. But it's the elephant, man. It's the elephant.
It's unquestionably Doc Antle's elephant. I've watched that entrance about 5 times with the "they see me rolling." It fits perfectly. And if you haven't watched Tiger King yet on Netflix, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah, man.
Right, let's move on to today's and finally. And there's always the odd dodgy photo of you doing the rounds on the internet. Andy, I'm sure you've suffered the same fate that I have with someone discovering something like that. Well, it happens to wrestlers as well. In particular, Kane. This was doing the rounds. This is doing the rounds on Reddit Squared Circle. Here is Kane with a ponytail and a fanny pack.
Watch out for that bum bag. Yeah, this is a look. This actually puts Kane up in my estimation. This is look at this man styling out. He's got the long coat. He's got the bum bag, the fanny pack, whatever you want to call it. The shameless ponytail. Now, of course, he's a member of the Great Bald Army. Respect to the Kane, man.
Exactly, and it's I think bum bags should be making a comeback. It's practical. Look, his missus clearly has no pockets. She can't put anything in that skin-tight red leather outfit of hers. So he's going to have to keep it in his bum bag.
Yeah. Joe Rogan wears the bum bag, and he has like 5 million views per video, so he's onto something, clearly.
But as you know, we need something to fill the time in these weird times of ours. Send me more weird wrestler photos. We'll feature them on the news more and more this week because I can't take my eyes off that one. Right, let us know your thoughts on all of today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as I said, subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and the Dudley Boys previewing the Wednesday Night War a little bit later on today. Plus, let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. And while you're there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Humperdinck. Shout outs to Engelbert. Dirty Bertie. Oh. Quando, baby. Shut up!
Follow me at Adam Wilmore. Follow us all at What Culture WWE. And that's Andy Murray and Engelbert Humperdinck. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.
Oh, I've had a meltdown.